Hey folks, welcome to the stream. We'll just give it a few minutes before we get started, just see if anyone else decides to join. Yep, it's here, started. Oi oi! There you go, Theo. And you also wanted to see the dog. Geej, come here. Come on, chicken. Come here. So, just before we do, we have Doggo on stream. Nice little cute doggo. Geez, look up here. Look up. There we go, folks. Doggo on stream for you. Go on then. Off you go. Oh, she wants attention now. She's not gonna. She's gonna stay in the room all the time now. I think she looks really pleased about that. Don't you, chicken? Oh, bless her. I do apologise if there's a bit of noise in the background. It's really hot here in my office today, so I have got the fan on in the background. So if there's a bit of background noise, I do apologise. If it gets too bad, if you guys shout out in chat, I can turn it off, and then you can just watch me pour with sweat. And yeah, we'll see how that gets on. Just give it another second before we actually start getting into the build. Although today's build is a little bit different, being a Clueboard, and there's some challenges with the actual with the design of the case itself. So we'll get on to that in a few moments, and we'll see how we get on with the actual build itself. We've had to make some modifications, but I'll talk through all of that. I'll show you guys what I've had to do, and I'll also show you the mistake I made and how to not do it. Hot for us today in the office at the minute. It is 36 degrees right where I'm sat now. Outside it's probably about 33, 34. For some reason in the house it's a lot hotter. So there we go. Why is what upside down? Why is what upside down? By the way, hi Connor. I'm not sure what you're on about. What's upside down? It should be the right way up. You should be able to read Clueboard. You should be able to see me right way around. Not sure what you mean, dude. Okay, we're just going to give it another minute, and then we'll crack on with the build. But today we're going to be using Ergo Clears, which Mel's had completed by Max of Cable Car Designs. Don't think Max is watching today, unfortunately. He's been travelling at the moment, so we'll see if he shows up later on. But effectively, these are Ergo Clears lubed, and they sound really nice. They feel really nice, and Mel's had them made specially. There is apparently one that's a little bit heavy for a spacebar in the pack that Mel just let loose. So I have no idea which one that is. Hopefully we'll find it as we're going through the build. We'll have to test each switch and see how we get on with that. But yeah, we'll see there. No, I'm not sure I'm a dick on stream. That's a quick way to get banned. The dog will be on again later, I would imagine, but that'll be about it. And we've got Martin here as well. Hi Martin, welcome. You didn't have to join. I was only joking about that earlier on, but I'm glad to see you here anyway. And you can see me in my lovely office ready to do the Clueboard build. Show my tits. I'll get the missus to do that later on if you want. The wife will come in. She did actually offer to get me more views by flashing the stream earlier on. I told her that was a bad idea, but it seems like you guys want us to do that. Yes, so if you wanted some Aristotles, which I assume you mean by Alice, then yes, I would get on Taobao for them. I've bought a few off there in the past, mainly for the stems. I'm not so keen on the switch housings themselves, but the stems are great. If you meant Alias, I don't think they're on Taobao. I've only seen them with keyboard fans. I don't think they sell them anywhere else unless they sell them on their Tao store as well. But yeah, you should be fine getting those from there as well. Okay, so we'll start having a look at the Clueboard first of all. So what I thought I'd do is I'd show you a completed one. So I've got a Clueboard from the current round that I built about 8-9 weeks ago. Yes, the stems are the juicy part, very juicy indeed. The springs are also not too bad for stock springs. I'd still change them if it was me, but yeah. Yes, that's what you're seeing. It's an integrated universal switch top removal plate, and it's 3mm. We'll come on to that, Martin, don't worry about it. You'll have your time to be able to make your complaints about it. But anyway, here's my completed Clueboard. So mine's a little bit different to the one we're building for Mel. Mine is the acrylic bottomed version. Mel has the full aluminium version, which you can see at the back here. But this is broadly the same layout as what Mel wants to go for. Same colour, and I had the same issue with mine that we're going to show you later on today on Mel's as well. Mine's built with 67 gram Zelios, by the way. They're lubed and spring swapped. bit of a sound test there for you. It's quite a nice little board. I don't use it very often, it's a little bit too light for me, but the metal bottom does make a big difference. Yes, I'll share the link with you later on. I will post that up either on Discord or in the chat for you later on. We've got Pusher in the chat as well. Pusher. Yeah, we'll see how the two Clueboards compare once they're both built. So they are different switch types, but they are both tactile. They are different case types because one's acrylic on the base and one's aluminium. But we'll broadly see how that affects the sound and the typing experience. So I'll just run over the Clueboard itself, and I'll show you guys what you get in the box effectively. So this is what Mel's bought, and it's from the latest round. So you get a selection of rubber feet. These are all in different thicknesses, and that's so you can change the angle of the board once it's fully set up. You get a gasket, which is just to allow the light to diffuse for your underglow, but with it being an acrylic bottom, sorry, with it being an aluminium bottom, the underglow is effectively limited to this strip around the outside. You get the base and some hardware, so you get an Allen key and 2 bolts. And the base has 2 parts to it, so it actually has an insert. We're going to have a look at the base in a second. So this insert is effectively a reflective surface for the LEDs. So this is for the underglow LED, so it reflects it back up into the case. Now this is a bit dirty because it's got its plastic cover still on from the acrylic when it was cut. So when we peel that back, it'll be a flush mirror surface as well. Oh, we've got James on stream as well. Hey James, good to see you. I hope H is with you, and if you are, hi H. I can't wait to see you again in the meetup in a couple of weeks. So yeah, so this is just an acrylic insert, acts like a mirror, reflects the light back up. It also gives you effectively in-switch LEDs to a sort of, it gives you glow from behind the keycaps, I guess. It does not in-switch as such. And then the actual aluminium base itself, so this is how it comes stock. Just 2 mount points. There's effectively the plate's integrated, so there's no plate mounting. The bottom just bolts to the top by 2 bolts, and we've got a nice CNC logo on the bottom as well. Mel had already installed some feet. I assume these are the size and diameter that she wanted, so these are already installed there. Bit of dirt on the bottom. But yeah, so that's effectively the bottom half of the case. That just sits in the bottom as well. Onto the PCB. So the PCB is quite standard. We've got Yankar in the chat as well. Nice Yankar, good to see you. You could probably do a better PCB than this because this is pretty disappointing, to be honest with you. So the PCB is a standard 66% or whatever you want to call this, 66 key. It's a little bit bigger. Put box switches in with GMK keycaps. So I've not had any issues with box switches and GMK keycaps, but we will come back to that because I do want to talk about it later on. Yeah, it's got far too many holes in there. It does support ALP and MX switches. We're going to be using MX switches today. It's got these 2 vast holes in it here and here. Now they're effectively become the mount points, as you can see just there, for the 2 bolts to go through. And the whole of the bottom row is just Swiss cheese. I mean, it's nigh on ridiculous, to be honest with you. I mean, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's probably 25 holes just on the bottom row. I get that people like to have different options, and I'm the same with ISO because I like to build ISO, but having that many bottom row options on one board is far too much in my opinion. So that's it. It's a USB mini, which is pretty much standard. On the bottom, it's got the standard underglow LEDs. Again, it looks a mess from the bottom. It's not an attractive PCB in my opinion, and the same goes for when you've got it built in the acrylic version. I'm not a massive fan of that look. I think it looks too much. If you look at some of the polycarb boards like the Polycarb Singer and the 910 by TGR, they're much nicer underneath because of the better PCBs, but again, that's just an opinion thing. So in terms of actually building today, we've decided to do it a little bit different because of some of the challenges I wanted to talk you through, and I figured that would probably take just as long as it would for clipping and lubing the stabs. So for this one, the stabs are already clipped and lubed. There is a little bit of a difference for this stab here, and we'll come to that when I talk you through the problems of the case in a few minutes. But that's the PCB. It only comes in white as far as I'm aware. The version 1 or version 2 did come in black, but this is the latest version. This is version 2.9, it just says right here, but yeah, standard really. And then we get onto the top part of the case. Oh, I've got some questions. What I was going to do with them switches was use the Aristotle stems, Gateron Rainbow top housing, and the Kale Speed lower housing. Well, I'm interested to see what happens with those. Off the top of my head, I suspect the bottom housings will be nice, The top housings will give you a little bit of clackiness with them being Gator-on ones, and the Aristotle stems they're good stems. They're good stems. Make sure you get some decent springs, and that would be my big bit of advice. Maybe look at some sprit springs or something like that, or even some cat wee wee ones as well. They're really nice. They should all clip together, those parts. Yes, I think they are all compatible. And I assume you meant the RGB top housing, not rainbow, but yeah. Box switches in my build. Yes, we'll get rid of the box switches. Although, again, we'll come back to this in a little bit once we talk through the board, but I've not had any problems with box switches. Anyway, here's the top of the case. So it's all one piece. It's integrated, which means the plate is part of the case. You can see here that there's no seam around the edges. It's all one piece. It is about 3mm thick. You can see in here where it's being CNC machined. So the plate is about 3mm thick at its thickest point. It's not as thick as something like the Zephyr. Oh, the dyed rainbow was. Oh, I know which ones you dyed plastic. Yes, sorry, I do know which ones you mean. Yes. So it's not quite as thick as something like the Zephyr or the TR60 that's coming out and things like that. But it is really solid, really rigid. There is absolutely no flex in this, and that's because of the way that the case is designed around the integrated plate. It's fully universal. The bottom row is a massive mess. The ISO isn't too bad of a problem. It supports split backspace as well. Where this case does have its problems is actually integrated into its compatibility. So on the bottom we've got a whole host of cutouts that have been CNC milled really nicely in a lot of cases for the switches to clip in. What we do have a problem with is the ISO enter. Now the board supports ISO because it's universal, we can see that. But when you try and put any ISO stabs underneath, the actual case itself doesn't support it. Sorry, how's the anode? The anode's really good. The anode's top quality. I haven't got a fault with the anode at all. So my version's exactly the same colour. Again, not a problem. Now, what we do have with these Clueboards is a problem with the QC in the fact that a lot of them come with chipped and damaged corners. So you can see on mine came out of the box, and this front corner here was slightly damaged. If this focuses, there you go. That was how it came out of the box. Really frustrating, but Mel's is perfect, so there's no complaints there. No split caps, not sure if I'm blind or not. Offset. Oh, you mean step caps? Yes, it does support step caps, so this is step caps here. So you'd have step caps there, or you'd have standard caps to this side. We will be building this as step caps. Yeah, it's a pain, is the QC like that. I think it's just part and parcel of the way this board's designed, with it being so sharp on these corners. They are really, really sharp, which probably leads to them being damaged really easily, but that's as it is. Anyway, back onto the stabilizer issue. So as you can see here, I've had to Dremel out the case, and the dirty grey scratch here is because the first Dremel bit I used, don't buy Chinese ones because they snap. As soon as I tried to mill out a piece, it just snapped and the tip skittered around. Luckily, it's not visible from the top side at all, so it affects the functionality of the board in no way, shape or form. But what we have is, if you see here, so this is on the shift, so that's where the two stabilizers sit on shift, but then if you transpose that around here, the original case, it doesn't fit in the gaps provided, so the stabilizers are off. So you have to actually grind away the case to make the ISO support ISO, which is really, really bad design. I'm not sure if Scully's aware or not. I did email him, so Scully's the designer, when I built mine, so I never got a response. I never got a response about the damaging, so there we go. So just coming back onto my board as well, so Pipe Archer, you can see that step caps, fully ISO supported when you fix it, and everything else is pretty standard apart from the one new key on the bottom row just here. So yeah, so we'll go. So just looking back at the chat, going to be building my pseudo endgame board soon. Gator-on blacks, beyond lubing them is sprint swapping them, a good idea to make them as good as possible. Yeah, so I don't think there's a stock switch that doesn't need a spring swap. That's my honest opinion. I've not tried a stock switch except maybe a Revo White. Revo Whites are really, really nice, and Tangerines are almost there as well. But I think nearly every switch needs to be have a spring swap. I would always buy either Sprit or some Cat Wee Wee springs. You can get them from I can't remember. I'll share a link later on. Box blacks. I'm not really a fan of box switches. The only box switch that I like is the Royal, and only then when it's lubed. But now with the box issues on keycaps, which we'll talk about in a second, I'm not sure I'd recommend them either. Yeah, why would they allow for ISO into Switch but not support for the steps? It's bizarre. It's beyond me. I genuinely don't know why. It's one of those things. It must have just been missed in QC. Very few people build ISO in the States. Very few people buy Clueboards in the EU. I suspect it's a mismatch of both. I'm glad ISO support was included. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bought one myself, and I wouldn't have been able to build it. But I do think it's something that needs to address. Now, I know they also had some problems with the backspace having this exact issue, and he provided a series of shims to try and lift the backspace stabilizers away from and the circuit board away from the plate so that you're allowed for the correct clearance. Now, this particular case doesn't suffer from that affliction, but it does have the ISO one. It might have just been an oversight. I genuinely don't know. Yeah, you can hear the dog. She keeps coming in and having a wander around. It could just be an oversight in the design, and maybe they'll fix it for future rounds. I've tried to let Scully know via an email. Never heard anything back. If anyone else had to contact him other than that, please let me know, and I'll take some pictures and I'll show him. But there we go. As we say, it's all ready to go now. It has been milled back, and you can now sit the stabilizers underneath there. And effectively how this plate works is right here you can see we've got a standard plate thickness there. That's 1.5 mil thick there, and then it comes up to the full 3mm thick here, and then a little bit further on behind here where you get to this part, it's full solid alloy, which is probably 10 mil thick, something like that. But the vast majority of the plate is 3mm thick. So it is pretty nice, and it's really rigid. You can't twist it or flex it. There's no flex or movement in that at all. It's lovely and solid. So before we get on with the build, which is relatively simple today, it's just the switches, a bit of soldering. What I thought we'd do is talk about what's on everyone's mind, which is the whole box switch saga. So I've seen that the cruciform for the box switches is slightly different, and that's causing some problems with GMK caps, SA caps, PBT caps. People have claimed all sorts. All I can do is go on my experience, and I've got two boards with box switches in. I've got a Tina C with box Royals in, and that's got a GMK set on, and I've got a keyboard 66 from Keyboard Fans with box navies in, and that's got SA Hyperfuse on with the new SA Hyperfuse fix kit. So when all this was kicking off, I just got my SA Hyperfuse fix kit through. I did strip off the caps on my Keyboard 66 and I had a look at them all. I have no signs of any stretch or any snapping of stems or any breakage of stems. None of them are loose when I tried them on other switches, and the same goes for the GMK caps on my Tina as well, which is on the box Royals. That being said, that's only my experience. I don't type on either of those boards. They just sit on my wall, and they're just for display purposes. So in my view, it doesn't affect me. Your mileage may vary, it may affect you. I think it definitely needs investigating, and I know that Kono and a few other people, and Mike Sickler as well from Novel Keys, he's been in touch with Kale, and they're having a look at it. It does need to be addressed, absolutely. If it's affecting, even 10% of the switches that are out there, it definitely needs looking at. Could you show the Hyperfuse fix kit if you have it on the wall? Yeah, give me a second, I'll show it. It's not a problem. So this is my box navy keyboard 66 with SA Hyperfuse. The fix kit has a fixed top row and first row, and also has some coloured accent keys as well. So as you can see, the correct profiles on these now. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Something like that. So it is really nice. Box navies are on this one, nice and clacky. This is a really solid case. I actually had this custom coloured via Cerakote company for me. One thing I'd say is if you're going to get that done, make sure it's not on a Keyboard Fans product, because their CNC milling when you sand it back isn't the greatest. I don't know if it'll show up on stream, but there is some lines just in the aluminium just underneath there which have only become visible. I'm not sure if they'll be picked up, but they've only become visible since I've had it custom Cerakote and sanded back. But yes, that's a nice little board. A little bite on the back, excuse the fingerprints. Let's have a look. What else have we been talking about? Springs are cheap. Yes, springs are really cheap. Definitely change them if you're doing a build. Even if you only do one build a year, $10 or whatever switches, definitely do it. New chair looking good. Yeah, nice, and it's also silent as well, Toby. Absolutely no sound at all when I'm moving around. Perfect. 65% is my layout of choice. Yeah, so I've got What have I got in 65? I've got two Clueboards. I've got the Canoe. I've got the Keyboard 66. I've got a Noctua 268, a CA66, a TX60, and a few others as well. So I've got lots of 65% boards. Yeah, it's probably my favourite one. How much is SA Hyperfuse? I think I paid $240 or something from it from Ergo. The fixed kit was $70 or something like that, but I also got the Penumbra fixed kit as well. That's not on a board, so I can't show you that sadly. But yeah, SA looks great. I've also got Hyperfuse Origins and normal Hyperfuse, GMK Hyperfuse as well, and Reader somewhere. I think my favourite of all of them is Hyperfuse Origins, and I've got that on my E6B2 in MAO white, micro arc oxidization white. But yeah, it's really good. No, you're right, Tidal. They should have fixed it in the first instance. It should have always been that profile. When they call it a fixed kit, it's a profile change kit. It's not fixing the keys or anything like that. Glue, nice to see you again, dude. We need to catch up again and have a proper chat. What else have we been talking about? Why spring swaps necessary? So, stock springs are one of three things. They're either creaky, they're crunchy, or they just feel crap. Changing the springs or lubing the springs or modifying them in some way generally makes a difference. The other problem with a lot of stock springs is they're made of steel and they're usually not coated, so over time they can corrode. Now it takes years and years, I get that, and you're probably not going to see it in your lifetime, but if you live in a hot, humid climate, or if you live in a cold, damp climate, you know, you might see that. Changing the springs allows you to customize the weight. So if you like a tactile switch that only comes in 70 grams, for example, and you want it to be 60 grams, you can buy a custom spring, and you can do that for any linear switch or tactile switch, whatever you want to do. The second thing is if you're taking the springs out, you might as well change them, in my view, for something that's a little bit nicer. A lot of custom springs come in gold and different bits and pieces, so you know, definitely think that you should look into it. And thirdly, if you take them apart, you can lube them as well. Just put a tiny bit of lube on a spring. It'll make it last longer. It'll make it smoother. It'll get rid of any crunch. It will make the switch feel nicer. And if you ever try a spring swapped switch versus any stock switch, I guarantee you'll be able to tell a difference, and you'll prefer the spring swapped switch. Get my S's out there. Unless you're a masochist, in which case you want the horribly scratchiest switch ever. In which case, go find some MX brands. What else have we been saying? You shouldn't have to pay for fixed kit or have to Dremel the board. No, Mel, you shouldn't have to Dremel the board. Your board is perfectly fine. As I promised you, no marks from the top, even though we did slip slightly with the broken drill bit, well, the CNC bit. But yes, it's all fixed nicely. It's all sanded back. It's all smooth. Any marks there are just scratches in the surface on the other side, so it's all nice and smooth. Give us more money kit. Well, so the fixed kit was actually run by a guy called Brextar. It wasn't run by Ergo, so it was completely separate and completely independent. And Brextar wanted to run the fixed kit because he wanted the normal profile, the standard profile that the kit's running. So it wasn't a give us more money. He ran it at cost. He didn't make any profit apart from his own set. I think he was a stand-up bloke for doing it that way. If you'd have to use a wooden case, would you think that a bottom weight is necessary? No, I've only got one wooden case. Well, two if you count Hyper 7. Hyper 7 doesn't need a weight for obvious reasons. The other wooden case I've got was actually from Max from Cable Car Designs, and he got it from Taobao. If you would like to see it, I can show you it. Just let me know. I'll show you it. You know where I live. It's fine. Yeah, you need to come and pick this up tomorrow morning, Mel. Yeah, we'll talk about that later on. Do you think gold plate is noticeable compared to non-gold plated? No, but for the price difference, why would you not get the better product? People say that non-gold plated sound a little better or feel a little better. You can't tell the difference, but they're definitely going to last longer. They're protected against the elements, anything like that. My view is go for the best ones you can afford, and for the sake of, I don't know, $2 difference in price, you might as well just spend the extra $2 and get the nice springs. Theodore likes massive stock blues. I see you're a massive peasant. Hey, you like what you like, man. You like what you like. That's just the way it is. This whole hobby was built on the foundation of preference. People being able to build boards in the styles they liked, the way they liked, the look they liked, the keycaps they liked, the feel they like, whatever. If you like it, you build it and you use it and you bring it to the meetup, because I like to see what other people like, not just what is popular. So, yeah, that's just my view on it. What springs are closest to MX Black? No idea. I'd have to look it up. But I would probably get something like 63.5 gram sprit springs or something else like that. I hate the keycaps I have now, but there is an alternative. What keycaps have you got, Martin? What have you got? And why isn't there an alternative? There's thousands of keycaps out there. Thousands. You can definitely find an alternative. Definitely. Oh, you're away during the meetup. Oh, well, I'd love to see you again at the next one then. Next time it's in London, be there and bring your massive keyboard as well. The one with the keys that were like 4 inches square, or whatever it was. I'd love to see that again. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to get back into actually doing the build. Try and motivate ourselves through this and try not to digress too much. Mel wants to come and pick this up in the morning, so I want to get it finished. I want to get it programmed. So you've got a 145 key DSA Granite set from Keyboard Republic. Okay, so get DSA Granite from PMK or something like that. DSA Quartz doesn't even support the 1800. Yeah, okay, well, your first problem is using DSA. I don't know. There's lots of keycap profiles out there. There's lots of different sets. Try something like one of the Bounty Hunter or the Honeywell set from oh god, I can't remember his name now. The guy who runs them, Holton. They're really nice sets. I've got Bounty Hunter somewhere in a drawer. I think it's here actually. Where is it? I do have it somewhere. It's somewhere in that drawer anyway. I thought it was at the front. But Bounty Hunter is a really good set. It's a really nice set. You should try that. That would be my bet. And I don't think it's particularly expensive either. I think it's like $150 or something, including the compact kit and shipping. So it's well worth looking at. Yeah, Prime KB. Yeah, that's one. Have I actually programmed the CA66? Yes, the CA66 is programmed. It needs work doing to it still to address the sound. I did try putting some sound dampening inside the case. It's not quite there yet. It will be when I've got some more sound dampening from the cars. So I restore cars in my spare time as well. And I've got some proper Dynamat that's used to soundproof cars. And I'm going to put that in the CA66 along with a reflective layer across the top, some reflective vinyl, and that should help the sound a little bit more as well. So we'll see how that goes, and it should be built like that for the meetup as well if I get an hour tomorrow night to do it. Yeah, and thank you Egler for sharing that link. That looks really, really good. I think that's the guide to which strings are which, so definitely check that out, folks. Okay, so what we're going to do now is really simply build the Clueboard for Mel. This is pretty easy to do. One thing I would say about the Clueboard as well is the tolerances are super tight, so if you have switches which have the PCB mount pins on the bottom, I'm not sure if you can see those there, just here, they are really, really, really tight to push in. So one of the things that I would recommend before you build the board, I'm just going to show you how tight these are, so you have to really force them in, so that's just about in. In fact, if it's not, now it is. You have to really, really force them in. So one thing that I do is I tend to just go around, put something like a cocktail stick through the hole, just widen them a little bit, and go from there. The problem with the other sets from him is that their ABS and SP ABS is like sandpaper compared to SP PBT. Again, it's preference. If you dislike it, you dislike it. I think they're really nice, and I don't really like DSA, but Bounty Hunter is one of my favourite. It's entirely up to you. Spray foam the entire inside of the case, and Mel's going to foam you. Wow, nice. Okay, calm it down, folks. Calm it down. Yeah, I could spray foam the inside. That would be very messy, be difficult to rebuild, but it probably would fix the sound. If nothing else works, Toby, I'll bring it to you and you can try that and we'll see how that goes. See how it goes. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to build the board now. So as I said, this is a 3mm thick plate, and just to show you, the switches actually clip into this quite nicely. They take a bit of forcing in, but once they're in properly, and as you can see, they sit pretty flush with the bottom. There's only 1.5mm showing on the edge, and then it's straight onto the PCB. So what we're going to do is just put a few switches in and then try and line it up on the board and try and press these into the PCB. Now, as I say, these are really, really, really tight, so when you're forcing these in, you have to really, really, really push them. And just to show you, now we've got one switch in, you can see that the stabs here are quite flush up against the edge, but they do sit under it now. They don't sit too far away. The PCB sits the standard distance away from the case, as it should do. It doesn't affect it in any way, shape or form now that I've dremeled it. SP ABS is like paper. I assume you mean like sandpaper. It is a little bit rough, but you know, with the thing with ABS is it wears easily and evenly and fairly quickly, so I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Some DSA Royal Navy caps even bled like yeah, so that's because of the double shotting process. So when SP do their double shots, on the DSA caps it's actually quite a thin double shot, so it just bleeds the light through. So again, just forcing the switch in. Yeah, the Ergo Clears, so these were made by Max for Mel. The Ergo Clears, really nicely weighted. And lubed as well, I should say. There is one that's the space bar in there, so I'm trying them out all as we go through. The dog's back in the room; she's having a look around. No, she's walking away. She's not interested. Sorry, folks. Yeah, so there is one that's apparently a space bar switch that Mel dropped in the bag. I need to try and find that as we're building, otherwise she's going to be typing in a week's time and she's going to have a really heavy switch. But we'll see where we get to. But for now, we're just going to push a few more of these switches in before we crack on. Going row by row, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to try and make sure that we cover some good mount points across the board. Again, just making sure we force these in. These are really, really, really tight. I know I keep saying this, folks, but the Clueboard is one of those PCBs where if you don't get it quite right when you're pushing these in, it's so tight. You really have to force it. So that's all in there as well. So now you can see that they're that tight that no matter what I do, it's not going to come apart. It's really solid. So what we're going to do from here is we're just going to go through each row. Now it's all together and it's held in place, and just fill the switches in. The one good thing about it being really, really tight and it's supporting plate mounted switches is that you don't get much twist on keys in areas like here. The keys are really easy to align straight. The plate is quite nicely tolerated for everything else. The massive downside to this is the whole work you have to go with the ISO into. Probably about 45 minutes worth of Dremel and tidying and sanding work to get it to fit. So yeah, it is a pain, but we get there. Tons of tight holes getting filled if you want to up the views. That's a great idea for also getting me banned, Dean. So I'm going to try not to do that. Yep, Tyler, I think you had the same problem building your yours as well. It's just one of those boards that's just a pain to build. It's not particularly difficult unless you're doing the ISO and you can't Dremel. It's just one of those things. I'm not considered switching to ANSI. This isn't my board, it's Mel's. I'm building it for Mel. She wanted ISO. It's getting built in ISO. Personally, I agree with her. I don't like ANSI at all. I can't get used to it. I constantly miss key things. I miss my my split shift and backspace, backslash key. ISO is the one for me, and I think it looks better, but that's a personal opinion. Heat up and pull your PCB further from the switches so it would fit. So I don't know if your version was different, Tyler, because now I've done this modification to the ISO, I don't have that problem. Whereas I did on mine, and I didn't Dremel enough away, and I didn't trim the stabs or anything else, and I have that problem on mine. So it's probably a bit of both. British and stubborn, I'll be building ISO. Yep, same, Pi Parker. British and stubborn. I've been using ISO since I was a kid, so for at least 20 years now. Yeah, it's just easier for me. I prefer it. I think it looks nicer, and it's getting rarer and rarer in the mechanical keyboard world, so it makes you stand out from the crowd a bit. It does get you a whole bunch of hate. People will attest that I've had some nasty messages on Twitter and on Reddit from using ISO. So it does come with some stigma, but the whole beauty of this hobby is that you can do what you want. You can build the boards how you want, so don't let anyone's thoughts or opinions affect what you want to do. Especially don't let me influence you. If you want to build ANSI, you build ANSI. If you want to build ISO, you build ISO. You know, it's not up to me. I stand out. Yes. I'm going to steal that and use that next time someone mentions the whole ISO debate to me, because that's a really good little phrase. I like that. So again, these switches are so stubborn to just get in place. There we go. Some bent pins here. So as we said before, Mel's going for split left shift, ISO enter, and stepped caps. I'm going to put the stepped caps in now before I forget, and build it the other way, just like I did my CS66 last week. Step caps. So you can see the board's already starting to take shape. It gets really solid really quickly, does this, and it already feels like it's not going to come apart no matter how much you tug on it. I suspect if I wanted to pull the PCB off at this point, it would be really, really difficult, and I would struggle to get it off. I'd probably have to start to manually pull the switches out first. And this is a good point where you don't want to do your bottom row until you set on it as well. Which reminds me, Mel, if you're listening right now, you need to decide which way round you want your bottom row. So you can have it like I do, where you have 3 1.25, your 6.25 space, and then here you can change around where you have the 1 new. You can either have it here, or you can have it here. So if you let me know whether you want it the same as mine or the opposite to mine, and I'll build it that way for you. In the Netherlands, more ANSI than ISO actually. That might be true. Now, in terms of ISO boards worldwide, if you look at keyboards, if you look at manufacturers and everything else, ISO boards are more prevalent in all of those kind of things put together than ANSI boards. In the mech community, it's very different. The mech community is heavily America and China and Korea based, and none of those areas tend to use ANSI in their custom boards, and that's where the prevalence has come from. It's literally just that. As the community is growing bigger and bigger, we're probably seeing more and more ISO users. The other side that we're seeing, which is the negative side, which is people get bullied for using layouts that people don't like. So ISO gets a lot of negative rep. I've been told it devalues my boards. I've been told by a designer I'm not allowed to buy any more of their boards because I used built it as ISO, even though they supported ISO. You know, and that leads people away to not wanting to build their boards ISO. It's harder to get keycaps for, which is part of the challenge that I love, trying to find the right key sets. You know, it really is a bit of a shame that the ISO is so frowned upon in the community, given the fact that it's just a layout choice. You know, people don't frown on people if they choose to use a weird bottom row layout, or use a 7U space instead of 6.25 one, or split their backspace key. But yeah, as soon as you put an ISO enter on something, people seem to have a really big problem with it. It's just that's the way it is. ISO wins. You didn't know that actually. Interesting. Yeah, more ISO boards built. I think it's something like, it's not a massive difference. I think it's something like 60-40 or something in terms of it. But the actual numbers show that ISO boards are used more prevalent by the worldwide community of keyboards, rather than just in custom keyboards like what we're into. And I think it's just because of where the hobby originates from and where it's grown from and where most of the people in the hobby are from that ANSI is more prevalent. It's just one of those things. It's just one of those things. Yeah, so that's what the guy said. He even supported the layout on his board and his PCB. So why support the layout? Why offer it as an option? And then complain that I'm building one of his boards in that way? Don't know. You've said death threats over standard caps lock. So, well, Dean, standout player there, mate. Standout player. Suppose things like the JP layout, yeah, GIST layout uses the ISO enter as well. So yeah, that's it. The issue with the ISO is the diversity with it. Nordic and the other derivatives, I think it's good. Okay, so that's probably a point I didn't touch on. Yes, I think you're probably right. So ISO, DE, and Swedish, and all of the other bits and pieces that you can get, they are rarer and rarer and rarer. And I think you're probably right, Pi Parker. It's the fact that we try and accommodate it to the language that the board's been built in that is the big problem. So I tend to use ISO UK. I know Egler uses the German variant and a few other bits and pieces as well. As long as there's base ISO support, and by base ISO support I mean split left shift, row 4 pipe, the ISO enter key, the hash tilde key that goes at the side of ISO enter. As long as those 4 are in the kit, I don't mind if it uses the slightly wrong legends for the 2 and the 3 and the apostrophe symbol. I don't mind if they're wrong. As long as it supports ISO, I can build the board and be happy. So that's the way it is. We need new layouts which puts the end to where Americans have backslash. Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, we could do that. There are dozens of us. Okay, well, yeah, if you mind that, it's all preference. I mean, the set that I've got here, this has UK ISO, so it's got the 2 apostrophe and the £3. Some sets don't. Muted doesn't, which Muted is probably one of my favourite sets ever, whereas 9009 does. A lot of SA sets do, some don't. It's just bizarre. What I do hate missing out on is not being able to join a group buy because it doesn't support ISO. So think of a recent one, SA Strong Spirit. So that went really well. I've got some of the keys from a grab bag. I really like the colour scheme. I really like the colours and what it stands for as well. But at the same time, I can't use it because it doesn't have an ISO kit, and that's because it didn't hit MOQ. And if it doesn't hit MOQ, completely understand why it's not being made. And it's just the sad fact of ISO that it doesn't always get what it needs to be. And this is where the beauty of people like Mastrop come in. I know Mastrop can be twats and they can be idiots and all of that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, Mastrop do facilitate those group buys in a way as such that if one of the kits is not going to make MOQ, they will bump it up, and they more often than not tend to do that for all of the key sets they run. And as long as the option's there in the key sets from in the first place, then that makes me a happy chap. And we've got Doggo back on stream just before we carry on building. Do you want to come and say hello again? Is that what you want to do? Here we go. So we've got Doggo back on stream. What are you sniffing at, eh, Pooch? Yeah, you want to go, don't you? Go on then. Import tax, yeah. We do have import tax, but that's a sad fact of living in the EU. We have import tax. Whether we buy key sets from people or we buy key sets from stores, you know, the sad fact is that we are bound to pay all of those different import taxes. It's just one of the things that we have to live with as part of, you know, being an EU citizen. So we just have to accept it, as painful as it is and as frustrating as it is. We just have to settle for it. Sorry for that. And I know it doesn't make sense when the keycaps are manufactured in Germany and then shipped to America and then shipped back here, and Mastrop mark it as manufactured in the USA on their bags, which means that we have to pay import tax. They could quite simply just mark it as manufactured in the EU, and we wouldn't have to pay import. We just have to pay the Royal Mail handling charge. But hey, it's just what it is. Gigi's best, yeah. Gigi's cute and she's enjoying being on stream, I'm sure. So for anyone who doesn't know, my dog is called Georgie, but we shorten the name down to Gigi. I don't know why, we just do, but she's a cutie. We need a US-Europe trade deal for import tax-free keys. Yes, we do. That would be a great idea. Egler, I vote for you to run that past the Donald Trump and the EU representatives. So if you could do that maybe in the next couple of days, I'd be really, really happy. Perhaps we can get an agreement by the end of the week. I'll leave the ball in your court on that one. Mel, I don't know if you did come back and you said what option you wanted, but if you do pop it in chat, I need to know what bottom row option you want, either same as mine or with the one you opposite to mine. Just put another plus if you don't remember what I mean. Bottom row, yes, bottom row. Let me show you again, Mel. Bottom row, you can have the 1U key here, or you can have the 1U key there. So you'd have 1.25, 1, 1.25, or 1.25, 1.25, 1. Just let me know which you want. Same as you, 1U middle. Cool, perfect. Nice and easy. Okay. Chat is slow. Chat's slow because everyone hates me. Do I have two monitors? I have two, and then I've got a 55-inch TV. So the camera that I'm looking at now, that's sat on top of my 55-inch TV that's in the office. And then I have a monitor directly in front of me, and then I have a secondary monitor just there. Oh, James. Hi, Himmel. Oh, I thought you were saying Himmel then, but I think you said hi, Mel. It's quite a nice setup. Yeah, the screens are really nice. So the two screens are actually Iyama 30-inch 4K models. They're both really, really nice. They're lovely. There looks like a large gap on the right of your bottom row, Jay. What do you mean on the right of my bottom row? Do you mean here? Yeah, so one of the downsides to this case is that there is a large gap, and especially if I turn the board this way, you can probably see that underneath the spacebar and the caps there's a really large gap. It's just the design of the board. It's the same on the edges. It's slightly different from the back, but you can still make it out. It's not really a high profile case, it's more of a floating case design with a recess, would be how I'd describe it. Oh, between the and FN, where do you mean? Oh, so here. Yeah, again, it's just the layout of the board. there is a large gap. I think it's because the plate's so empty there, and if you look here, it's all gappy, so it just reflects the white PCB. So I think the light doesn't help it, but it is really gappy across there. Compare it to other boards like the E6 V2. I'll show you this actually. It's quite different. So this is my E6 V2, and if you look at the bottom row, there is very little gap between the caps there. They're really, really tight together, especially if you compare it to something like this. Can I get both on? There you go. So you can see there that there is a lot of tolerance difference. It's just one of those things, it's just the way the boards are made. Yeah, same thing, same thoughts. I'm just going to try and concentrate for a minute and get some more of these switches in. As I say, now once you get going, although they are really tight, the PCB doesn't want to lift away when you push the switches in, so it accepts them a little bit easier. And the fact that I've already pre-widened the holes with a bit of a cocktail stick, just to make it a little bit easier to build, makes a bit of a difference. So I'm going to try and quickly put the rest of these in. I've got one there with a bent pin. I'll come back and straighten that if we need to. I've no idea how many switches you actually sent me, Mel, so we'll see where we get to. If anyone has any other questions on boards, what to buy, what's hot, let me know. I shall try and answer those questions for you. No idea how many sent me, but you're getting them back. I would always give Mel the spare switches back, but she does tell me to keep the spare ones, usually for my switch tester. I've done a couple of builds for it in the past. That one's not got in. There we go. So again, this is just a case of really being firm with these switches. I'm trying to do this on a bit of padded mat underneath the board as well, just so you can see the indentations actually on it, just so that it sits nicely, and I can force it without pushing it into the desk. Another bent pin. What tops are those? Cherry RGB? I'm not sure actually. No, the Gateron tops. So the Gateron Clear tops. They're whatever Max selected for the Ergo Clear. Then a coffee when I'm home longer. Yeah, you need to come for a proper visit, Mel. We'll go out in the Datsun. We'll have a coffee. You know, we'll do all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'll be at the meetup. I'm coming down with Chris Swires and Zoe. I'm driving, picking both of them up on the way, and we're staying overnight as well, so we will be going out and having a few beers afterwards if you fancy that. And yes, I want you to bring one of those key bags as well, because I really want to see one. Yeah, because I want to buy, but I want to see one before I buy, so I'm hoping you're going to bring some to me for me to have a look at. If you've got a burgundy one, then please bring it. No, I'm Leeds Bradford way. I actually live in a village just on the outskirts of between Halifax and Bradford called Shelf. Mel will probably tell you otherwise, but that's where I live. So I can drive through Nottingham. Chris and I are really good friends anyway, so what I'll do is I'll just drive past Chris's on the motorway, nip off, pick them both up from a similar location, try and get them both in the same place, and then go from there. It's not too far, about 2.5 hours in the car. It's not too bad. I went to the London one, so yeah, it's not too bad. I do a lot of driving anyway. Zondat's not too far away from me either. He's the other side of the Pennines, just on the motorway, maybe 40 minutes away. Okay, so we've got one here that's been really tight. There we go. It's just about in. What do I use in my daily car? So I've got a couple. I have a Mazda 6. We have a Kia Sportage, which we use most of the time. The missus has a Peugeot 107, but then I've got a few cars that are just hobby cars and collectibles and things like that as well. So I've got a few different ones. If you want car advice, perhaps I should do a car stream. I've been tempted to do actually a post with pictures of my cars and keyboards in, but I'm not quite so sure how well that'd go down. I don't know if people would like that or not. Yeah, I've got a few cars, it's nothing big deal. If you had to pick, collect cars or collect keys, which I do both, so I don't have to pick. I'd hate to be in a position where I had to pick. So interestingly enough, I do have a board that's painted the same colour as my one of my favourite classic cars. So yeah, it's actually painted in the same paint as the car. Yeah, the Datsun is cool as fuck. It's my favourite car. If it was difficult, and I couldn't. So the thing is, I think keybs are inherently cheaper than cars. So if you say the average price of a custom is 500 quid, the average price of a collectible car is what, 20 grand? It's difficult to say. Too bourgeois, maybe. It's beautifully loud. Yes, it is. It is really loud. Okay, Toasty, I'll take some pics of the cars and I'll ping them over to you. Yeah, I don't mind doing that at all. Cars are one of my big passions. I absolutely love them. So yeah, I've not got a problem sharing that. Sorry folks, this is taking me a little bit longer than I anticipated. We've been doing more chatting than building. But we'll get there. So we're almost there now. Just a few more switches to go, and then we'll be ready to do a little bit of soldering. "66 is better than 60. Yeah, I'd agree. I would agree. What weight is a space bar? So the Mel does have a spacebar switch in the pack somewhere. Now I'm trying to test all the switches as I pick them up, and that's why you can see me probably give them a couple of presses. I'm trying to find the one that is heavier, because she just dropped it in the bag, Mel. But I haven't found it as yet. So as soon as I do find it, I shall let you know. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go and do the same bottom row as what I have on my board here. I'm just going to actually transpose the caps just to make sure this is right, because the PCB is so holy, it's difficult to see what's going on. So what I'm going to do, just to make sure we get it right, is I'm going to put the keycaps on. Just from my board here. I'll put them on switches first, and then press them. Do I have? I don't have any Meliewx boards. I don't have any of them at all. Sorry, Martin. It's just one of those things I don't have any of. I tend to buy custom boards rather than pre-built ones. I do have a couple of pre-built ones, but nothing particularly nice. The noise motherfucker. It was in the HS6. I may or may not have got angry when I had some issues removed wildly and tossed them back in the bag before I remember. Fair enough, Mel. Fair enough. Everyone needs a good reason sometimes. It may well be in here, and you might find in a week or so that you send it back to me to desolder because there's one switch that's particularly heavy or something. But if we come to that, then that's fine. I can do that for you. We can fix it. I just can't find it. I did try and find it before the stream, but clicking through all of the switches didn't particularly help. Okay, so let me just take that switch out. So what we're going to do is we're going to just put the keycaps in the right order, and making sure that they all fit. These are super tight, as I mentioned before. These keycaps are rather dusty. They've been sat on a shelf for quite some time now. This is one of the tricks I like to do to just make sure you're getting that bottom row just right. If I have a look at that spacebar in a minute, that seems to be binding a little bit. I'll have a look at that. And you want to go the same as I do, Mel, so we're going 1.25U, 1.25U there, and 1.1U in the middle. There we go. That's going to be our bottom row. The spacebar is binding a little bit, so we're going to take a look at that now. This could be a stabilizer issue, or it could be just a switch issue. Not having the... I'm not sure what makes sense. Oh, is it putting the keycaps on? Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Yes. So, interestingly, it seems that the wire is binding on the bottom of the case. The wire seems to be binding on the bottom of the case, which isn't quite... Oh, yeah, whatever. It's not the wrong hole. If you want to see, it's aligned pretty much perfectly. Perfectly there. That's why we put the caps on the switches and then put the switches in. But there is a problem with the spacebar. Okay, so interestingly, what's happening here is the switch is bending the stabilizer wire. It's really difficult to show you actually, but you might be able to see just under here that the switch is just there and the stabilizer wire is just behind it. But what's actually happened is it's bent, the switch itself has bent the stabilizer wire. So instead of going horizontal, it's actually got a dip in it now. So what's happening is the spacebar wire should come across here nice and smoothly. What it's actually doing is coming like that, not quite as pronounced as that, but the switch is causing. Let me just get a switch. Let's have an investigative look at this. So you can see here that the wire just runs along here, but when you put the switch in, what happens is that's just getting pushed down just ever so slightly, like so, and that's what's causing the binding issue. So to fix that, the switch will go in the other way around, so we should probably try it the other way around and see if that helps. You say that we're going the other way around. No, it doesn't go in the other way around because that's in the wrong place. Let's just see if there's another slot. Doesn't look like there's a way to get it in that way, so we may have to trim the edge of the switch just to get this to fit. What monkeys? Well, it was designed by Scully. Scully Days is the designer. But it is slightly frustrating. So there isn't an upside down switch slot for it here. Let me just have a look at how mine's built. So interestingly, we've got a different PCB, and you can see on my build, my PCB, the cable actually goes the other way round on the bottom here. But on this one, as you can see from the bottom, the larger holes here for the screw-in stabilizers at the bottom, and then you've got the smaller screw-in holes here as well. So it is interesting why it's that way around. I'm not 100% certain. Let's just have a look. Yeah, it is definitely right, and it's in the right slot. And there's no way for the stabilizer to go the other way around, so I think what we're going to have to do is trim the switch. Well, no, the stab's in. It's not. There's nothing wrong with the stabs. Interestingly enough, it does feel like it's binding just here as well. So we may have to come back to understand why this is doing this. But it does appear to be binding on the case. Either that or the stabilizer wire I've got is indeed bent. Yes, so this is the problem with thick plates, boys and girls. If you get a thick plate that doesn't support the stabilizers correctly, this is what happens. Interesting. Your canoe should be much simpler. It has a thin plate, not a thick plate. This is one of the things that happens when you're building keyboards. I may have to have a look at this offline. What I think I'm going to do for now is just try and undo these screw-in stabilisers a touch and see if just slackening these off will help a little bit. It's, doesn't feel in this. It does feel like it's binding on the housing. Strange, because all of the other stabilisers have been just fine. Also feels like this shift one is also catching. The shift one on mine goes the same way, so I'm not sure why that would catch. Either way, we can fix the stabilisers afterwards. I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. We'll leave the spacebar off and we won't solder the spacebar today. Yeah, so the stab's running along the edge of the plate tidal, and where it's running along the edge of the plate's dipping it where the indentations of CNC milling parts are. Is that the problem you had? If it is, what I'm going to have to do is probably just prise this away a little bit and see if that helps. Was that the issue you had, tidal? Yeah, you just go ahead and heat it up and pull the PCB. Well, the thing is, the PCB is not soldered yet, so it should just pull a little bit further away already. So what we'll try and do is we'll just try and edge it down. We use plastic so we're not scratching anything. That feels like it's a little bit further away. There we go. Let's see if that's any better. See, that feels better. It doesn't feel perfect yet, but it does feel better. It's also helping the shift a little bit. Yeah, grease stabs. So these are being greased with silicone grease, dielectric grease. So it's standard. This is the same way as I do every single set of stabs on every single board. It's just one of those things. Let's just try putting this switch back in and seeing if we can get it to feel reasonable. And tidal is a genius, that fixed it. There we go, all working back to normal. Yeah, I'll have a look at the link later on, but yeah, what you suggested, tidal, just prising it away just a tiny little bit has indeed fixed it. We're now rocking. Nice and simple. Nice and simple. Sometimes it's the little things like these on the custom boards. You're going to run into these issues, I guess. It's just one of those things. But the rest of the board's fully pressed in now. It says fully pressed in. One switch here in the corner. It isn't. These are really tight. So there we go. It doesn't sit fully flush with all of the switches, but it is really flush in terms of where it needs to be. All the stabilisers are going to work just fine. Now we've made that slight amendment. So yeah, we're all good. Same for shift and enter. Okay, we'll try the shift and enter. You're probably right to suggest that. Yeah, we'll just pull the shift off. We'll put it on the enter first. The enter's all good. Switch back in. Stems are really tight on these switches, being Ergo Clears. And then we'll just check the shift as well. It's a little bit slow on the return. Let's just have a look underneath this one. It's not the switch. The switch is fine. Let's just let's just try lifting this up a tiny little bit. Give this a try, and there we go, all working just fine. There we go. So it looks like we're all working there. Do you not like wire style pullers? So people say you don't use plastic ones because of scratch stabs. Wire ones are metal, and the wire ones I've used have scratched my stabs more often, scratched my caps more often than I can care to admit. The caps for my CA66 are ruined from using a wire keycap puller. I prefer the plastic one. I've never had any scratches. I've got dozens and dozens of key sets. I've used them for a long time. So yeah, I tend to use the plastic ones. It's just personal preference. Fax doesn't offer pre-lubed stabs, but he does sell lube and stabs together, and it's dead easy to do. I don't know if you missed it on the last stream, Theo, but it's dead easy to do. You literally need a paintbrush, some dielectric grease, and your stabilizers, and you just literally wipe it in a few different areas. I've got 2 more streams coming up where I'm actually going to look at building a canoe, and I'm going to look at building a prototype on that board, and then potentially I've got some more boards on my own. A keyboard 661. What else have I got? I've got a duck blackbird and 2 vipers and some other bits and pieces, so they're all going to come in streams as well. But what I will do is I will absolutely show you how to lube stabs in those. But it's dead easy. It's literally a paintbrush, a little bit of lube, slider housings, the sliders that move up and down. Once you've clipped and lubed them, a tiny little bit where the wires enter front and back, and then a little bit underneath as well, just so it cushions out the bottom of the stab to keep it nice and quiet. Mel may have another board from his build too, so there might even be another board there. As I say, I wanted to keep it nice and simple for this board because the whole talking about the ISO enter issue is going to take up more time than looking at the stabs. Next stream should be on Thursday night, right before the meetup. Daniel's asked me to build his canoe to match mine, so my canoe is here. He's got exactly the same colour scheme. I think he's going to go with something slightly different in terms of keycap set and switches as well. Yeah, so we're going to build his for him on stream next week. And I may do another one before then if I get a chance to. Okay, so now it's time that we've got all switches in. What we're going to do is going to solder. Once we've soldered a few switches, we'll check the stabs again just to make sure we haven't pressed down too hard as Tidal recommended, and we'll go from there. Not showing the switches yet, Jay. Or caps, yes, caps, I don't know. Don't copy me, don't use Sunrise Dark. We need some more variation. Sorry Theo, even if not, I can always do a quick video showing you how to do them, and we'll catch up, or there'll be some more streams later on, and there'll be VODs as well, so you can have like, in fact if you look at my CA66 video that's on my stream after this one's finished, you'll be able to see on there, it's in the first 20 minutes where we fix and clip and lube stabs, so you'll be able to see. So what we're going to do now is going to do the soldering. This should take not very long at all. It's fairly simple board to solder. There's no LEDs going into it, or Mel hasn't given me any. So we'll just go from there, and then once we've done that, we'll build it up together. We'll put it into the case, and we'll give it a quick test. We'll see how we go. Just going to grab my soldering iron gear here. This is where everyone complains about my soldering. My soldering method works fine for me. Everyone's got their own methods. As long as it works, and as long as it looks reasonably tidy, I don't think there's ever any issue with anyone's soldering. More stream content is nice, but not sure on Twitch. Yeah, you've gone through that. Make a video for Tuesday. There you go. Tidal does amazing builds as well. So Tidal's actually started building for mech boards quite recently. He does all mech boards builds. So if you need a board building, Tidal is your man. I'll happily build people things on stream. It's probably not going to be very quick or turnaround if you do some things to me. Happy to do it. Don't charge, but it's going to be a long time between me getting it and me actually building it. I mean, if you ask Daniel, I've had his canoe PCB for maybe 4 or 5 weeks. I've had the Mel's Clueboard for about 6 weeks, 7 weeks. She has changed her mind on the switches twice and whether to build it or not. So, you know, it's one of those things. Let me just grab my soldering iron. I just need to let this warm up and we'll give it a bit of a clean, and then we'll make a start on the soldering. Yeah, the steel wool is better than the sponge. Yeah, I much prefer it. Hello Olivia, welcome back. Good to see you again. I try and answer people's questions as much as I can, Theo, that's the thing. I have no idea whether your soldering desoldering is any good or not. I've never seen any of it, but you seem to know what you're doing with boards and buildings, so there, yeah. I did get a haircut about a couple of days ago, yeah. So letting this heat up and give it a good old clean. And yes, it is a TSV 100. It's got the custom firmware on there as well. So yeah. Have I got a fan in the room? Yeah, I did say at the beginning of the stream it's really hot in my office. It's 34 degrees now. It was 36 degrees when we started. So I have got a fan on in the background trying to keep me cool. If it is really, really, really annoying you guys, I'll turn it off. It's not a problem. I can suffer in the heat and cope, I'm sure. Consider yourself which consider the best PCB plate or screw in. Don't get plate unless you have to. PCB clip in or screw in preference. Personally, I prefer screw in. Personally, I prefer GMK screw in to Zeal screw in, but again, it's all preference. Okay, I'll grab the new firmware, Martin. Thank you very much. No suffering, keep the fan. It's not that loud, don't worry. I didn't think it was. I did do a bit of a test stream beforehand, so I've got to see that it doesn't bother you too much. Okay, so we're just going to solder the first switch in the top corner, and this is where Martin goes and says something horrible about my soldering ability. I'm not the best solderer, but I get by. Okay, so what we're going to do is just going to do a few around and a couple in the middle, and then we'll make a start on checking the stabs. And we'll make sure everything's okay. Just do one in each corner, and then we'll do a couple in the middle of the board. I'll leave that one a little bit too long. Sorry, I'm going a bit quiet, guys. Just want to concentrate on this, make sure we get it right. Okay, I'm just going to do a couple in the middle of the board, and then we'll check on the stabilizer situation, just make sure we've not ruined anything there. Catch up with chat and see where we're up to. One thing I do need to do is, Toby, if you're still around, is grab some of that nice solder off you, because this solder is not the best. There we go. Okay. One sensor for nice straight hair. What? Oh yeah, different stream now. Solder at 380. So this is at 348, 350. It's usually just about right. I think if you go hotter, you risk damaging components if you hold on it too long. I try and stay along no longer than 5 to 7 seconds on each switch, on each pin. Most solder will melt around 300. Some solder you can get them melt as low as 180, so you can try that. Yeah, that's just where you can get to. So Olivia, the switches are Ergo Clears. There you go, you can see them, Ergo Clears. Keycaps are mine, so that's GMK Coniferous. I'm not sure what Mel's going to be using on the board. Just one of those. Oh, Oblivion, there you go, she's going to use GMK Oblivion. 380 because impatient. I'd rather take a little bit longer and do it a little bit lower temperature. That's just my gut feel. As I say, if you can get some of the solder that melts at like 180 degrees, it's much easier to work with. You just shove it to 200, it's a lot cooler, it's easier to deal with, and the solder just flows really nicely as well. So that would be my recommendation. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just going to go row by row, backwards and forwards. We'll keep the soldering iron nice and clean, and we'll just fill in all of these pins. making sure we don't get any cold solder joints. Cold solder joints are easy to spot if it's not adhering to the PCB, to the circuit board itself, and sitting on the pads, and it's raised above, and it looks bulbous rather than teardrop shaped. That probably means you've got a cold solder joint. You can easily just reflow it. That just means literally touching it with the soldering iron again to melt it until it sinks back down. And you can quite obviously see that happen when you have these joints. So it's always worthwhile watching out for that. Again, just try and touch these around here. There we go. Spread out a little bit. You don't need too much solder, but try not to get too little on there. I did see a build the other day where someone had tried to solder a board and they barely touched the stem, the leg of the switch to the pad. It wasn't good. Belt was quite low. Yeah, some of it does melt low. Get a good iron. TS100, 60 quid, best iron I've ever had, and I've had a few now. I really rate it. This tip's looking a bit old and a bit worn now, but it's probably done me 50 boards ish, something like that. But a good iron and good solder, it's the two easiest way to solve the problem. TS80's out as well. I've not seen the TS80 yet, most certainly not in live, but I think you're right, I think it is USB-C. I'll have a look at getting one of those maybe in the future. So if anyone wants a good deal on a TS60, let me know. That's a joke. I don't really mean that. I'm not getting rid of it anytime soon. Okay, so let's go along nicely. Try to make sure that we get these soldered in so they're nice and even. Again, with this board you don't have to worry too much about keycap alignment because the board is so rigidly held in. So the way the PCB holds onto the switch is so rigid that you don't need to worry about it at all. Do a couple more and then we'll clean the iron. It's always good to keep cleaning the iron as well. You don't want any carbon build up in what you're doing. £15 kit off Amazon. Yeah, you can get by with those solder irons, but they're not great. And you can't control the temperature. They're just one temperature, and that's usually 400 degrees, which, in my opinion, is far too hot. But yeah, using a power bank actually with one would be a really good idea. I hadn't thought of it like that. But yeah, USB-C powered soldering iron on a decently sized power bank, that could be quite good and useful for doing soldering at meetups and that kind of stuff. Although when I ran a meetup not so long back, I did ask whether you could do soldering there, and I was told categorically no, the hotel wouldn't allow it. And the main reason for that was health and safety, I think, but yeah, they were not happy about even considering it, to be honest. One of the other things that's quite nice would be an automated solder feeder. I have seen them around. Rather than getting your fingers too close to the wire and burning them. Oh, gone over two there. What about the gas irons? No, so gas irons are only useful for stuff like working on cars and things like that. I would never use them for electronics. The reason why they're useful for working on cars is because you don't need a lot of space, you don't need to run cables, and they generally do really big solder joints. They don't do small, tiny solder joints. And on cars, that kind of stuff doesn't matter. You tend to be joining thick wires together, so it's probably a little bit better for that kind of stuff. But I wouldn't use one on a keyboard, for example. Okay, we're going to start coming back up the other side now. This is the second row. So not too much longer now, and we should be able to put the rest of the board together. And then we can test it and see what it sounds like, and we'll do a direct comparison of sound to my board. Get a 100 watt power bank, high amperage. Yes, so I've got one that jump starts cars, so that sounds like it would do the job perfectly. TS100 seems super overkill, but I'm sure it'll last me a long time. Yeah, well, they will do. I mean, I build boards quite often, so it's worthwhile to me to have a nice soldering iron. You know, your mileage may vary on any tool. The general rule of thumb I like to do when buying tools is buy the first time you use a tool, you need a specific tool, buy the cheapest one that will do the job. If you then wear that tool out, it's because you're using it a fair amount and you need a better version, and then you buy yourself a decent one. If it's a tool that you use once and you never need it again, don't buy a decent one. Just buy the cheapest one that will get the job done, and just try and do that way. Want to build one of your UK78 PCBs? Yeah, I can build one if you want me to do it, dude. If you want me to send it my way, I can absolutely build it for you. I think I built the original one. Just let me know. You want to do your high rows and your copper plate together though. They would look the bond together, so I would recommend doing that. And if you're doing the high rows ones, well, make sure you get the meat up. The other good reason about having the fan on today is that this is leaded solder, and the fact that the fan's blowing the fumes away from me is not a bad thing. Mel doing a good job of the moderation today on the channel, and Olivia as well. Since I've not got a sponge or wall, I just mistreat it until it stops working. Just get a sponge, even just one from the bathroom, man. Just a sponge, one of your mum's cleaning sponges. Anything will do. Anything will do like that. Just one more and we'll give it another clean. Don't be afraid of using too much. You're never going to use more than you can handle in terms of solder. Yeah, metal wool, anything like that is good enough. You know, anything will do the job. Olivia, how's GMK Olivia going? Is that still looking on track? I know you were getting samples a little while back. It'd be good to see if it's coming along nicely. When you say sponge, do you mean the sponge side or the abrasive side? It will do you if you need it to. It will do you in a pinch, but it will only do you once and it will melt away. You can get proper decent sponges made of melamine that are actually designed for soldering iron use. Now, it'll be £1, if that, on Amazon. Just grab one of those, dude. Genuinely, just grab one. Third samples. Wow, third samples. That's impressive, Olivia. But the second one's not good enough? Or have you got some colours in the bag now? You're just waiting for some more to come through? Didn't even send the second one because they rejected it themselves. Oh, right, okay. Okay. Made of, no, it's not made of Mel, James. No, we would never do that. We wouldn't make it. It's made of melamine, which is what those magic erasers were made of as well back in the day. You're probably too young to remember those. It's just a type of material. Results for kitchen one doing the split. If you're going to use a kitchen one, make sure you wet it first. Otherwise, it'll just burn. Yes, I have done it before in the past where I've done that myself, so just have a think about that. Yeah, I can't wait to get the set. I've got a TX 1800 waiting for GMK Olivia right now. It's just sat in its box waiting for a keycap set ready for it, and GMK Olivia is what is intended to go on there. You have to wet the sponge for soldering iron. Well, yeah, of course you have to wet the sponge for soldering iron too. Ignored you twice. What do I desolder with? Sorry Martin, I desolder with a heated desoldering iron. It's basically just a pump action soldering iron, so it heats the solder up and then sucks it. It's a solder sucker with a heated iron on the end. Nothing majorly expensive, it was relatively cheap. I don't desolder that often. Once the build's done for me, it's generally done. I'll desolder odd switches sometimes if I'm not happy with them, but that does the job for me. I have looked at getting a proper desolder gun, but again, like I said before with tools, it's only worth buying the best version of the tool if you use it often enough to ruin the worst version of the tool in the first place. And I just genuinely don't, so until I do, I won't bother buying anything that's a little bit better. But again, that's all preference. Everyone should buy what they're comfortable with buying at the time, and make sure that they're happy with what they've got. What do you recommend to improve all the cherry backs which are not vintage? Stripping them, cleaning them, lubing them. That's what I would do. So make sure you've got a ultrasonic cleaner or similar, and I would absolutely strip them down, take them all apart, clean each of the parts individually. So put all the springs into the cleaner, put all of the bottom housings into the cleaner, and then the top housings, and then the stems. I would advise lubing with something like Krytox 104, 105. You could do spring swap as well if they haven't already been swapped. I wouldn't ever use a stock black anyway. I'm barely into linears at all. So I like the I don't know if you can see that on stream. I've got like a chisel tip. I don't know what the number is, but I prefer the chisel tip to anything else. GMK Olivia plus my many rama caps for GMK Olivia. Okay, you could do that. So we're on the third row now, getting a little bit of steam under us. We'll carry on through these, and then we'll give it a test, and then we'll solder it all together. Already done that switch. This pin's a little bit bent, but it should be okay. There we go. The other thing I'll do on this board off stream is I will clean the PCB with a bit of isopropyl alcohol afterwards for Mel, so she's got a nice clean PCB. That stuff I have to put gloves on though, otherwise it dries your skin out, something chronic. So I'll do that off stream and off camera, but I will make sure it's done. We know how Mel likes everything to be clean and tidy after her outburst on MK UK the other day, which was justifiably so. I mean, I think that keeping keycaps clean is very important, especially at meetups. Okay, I'm starting to get there now. The number is on the tip itself, just under the logo. D24 then I'm using. D24 or NR09, I'm not sure which one it is. D24 or NR09. I'll let you tell me which one that is, but it's basically a chisel tip, and that's just what I'm comfortable with. You can get rounded tips, you can get edge tips, you can get slant tips, you can get chisel tips, you can get God knows what else, but that's the one that works for me the best. I've even seen some that have got like a serrated edge to them. I don't know why you would want that, but you can get them. Like anything, don't knock it till you tried it. Your germs are unacceptable. Yes, Mel, people's germs are unacceptable, especially at meetups. If you go into the Birmingham meetup, please, please, please don't be touching people's boards with mucky fingers, stains on your hands, all that kind of stuff. Just make sure you've got nice clean hands. People use them when they get home to type with, and then they'll eat their own food and stuff. So, you know, it's just always nice to be hygienic. You don't want to pass anything on, you don't want to catch anything. You don't want to leave someone's board that's all nice and clean, shiny and horrible. So it's good practice to make sure you've got clean hands. Okay, we're well over halfway there now. Just try and refill this one. There we go. Disposable gloves, yeah, that'd be a really good idea. Oh, you want my germs, Mel? Fine, I can give you my germs, that's not a problem. My hands were clean before this, but it is very, very warm in here. But I will clean your board before I box it up for you in the morning. Such thing as bad choice of metal wool? No, copper will do just fine. Just get some copper wool. It's dirt cheap stuff. It's not expensive, so yeah, it'll do you just fine. I think it's £3 or something like that. You can get a little container for it, probably for less than a tenner. And if you're going to solder more than one board in the near future, it will do you good. It will do you proud. TMO50, yeah, I've seen that. It is really cute. I'm not sure I'd want to buy one, but it's interesting. It's interesting. I'm going to assume, Olivia, on the off chance that you have bought it. You buy pretty much everything, especially the things that I don't seem to get in on, and then I'm really jealous of you for getting stuff. Yours is the one collection I would definitely like to see at some point. Although Ellie and I are planning a trip to the States soon, we are looking at coming next year, so you never know. If I'm in New York City, I know who to hit up. £3 and knockoff Watts in the corner shop around the corner of the last meetup for a joke. Since I didn't know anyone yet, I didn't feel comfortable going through with it. The plan was to just walk around the meetup cradling this bag of crisps. You would have terrified people and probably got yourself banned quite quickly. So please don't do that. Okay, we're almost there now. I'm going to finish off this row in a second. Yankar's pinging me on Discord. What are you saying, Yankar? What are you talking about? Oh, you're leaving that there as a shameless ad. Okay, right. Okay, guys. I'm not sure if you guys can see. Yankar is actually. I'm going to put this this up on the screen actually. Yankar is shamelessly trying to expose his new board. So if you can see there on the other monitor, effectively what that is the HS60 V2. It uses Q&K still, but it's actually an ARM chip instead of the usual Atmel chips. In-switch RGB, yeah, same as the previous round, but better in all respects. So yeah, Jan is trying to shove that down everyone's faces at the moment, but it is going to be a really good buy, and Jan's right to try and push it. So yeah, there you go, exclusive there on the stream for you. We've actually got another exclusive to talk about in a little while. Let me just get my monitors back to normal. There we go. Okay. H60 is your favourite 67 board currently. That's big praise, Olivia, because you've got quite a few of them. I really like the HS60. Mel and I built one on stream a little while back, probably about 3 months ago now, and that was a prototype. And I thought the board was absolutely lovely for what it was. Certainly for the price, I thought it was really good. Well worth looking at. Well worth looking at. Just need a 65% version. Well, it can't be much worse than the Clueboard PCB if Jan ever does do one. This is not the best PCB at all. The tolerances are good, the design, the layout's too much choice. Swiss cheese PCBs are not my favourite thing. Almost finished this row now, and then we've got the smallest row ball. We've got the bottom row to do, just 10 keys on that one. There won't be USB-C Albrew on there. I think it's going to be mini USB only, and the reason for that is most 6% cases don't support USB-C. The adapters are too wide to fit in most cases, and the idea behind the HS6 is it'll fit any 6% case. So I think it'll have to be mini USB, and that'll be the way it is. Never personally stamped all Jan's work, but he's an absolute god. Jan is amazing. I love Jan to bits. He's one of my best friends in the community. You know, his stuff is really, really good. He made the H7 PCBs, for which, you know, I'm eternally grateful. Which are all shipping out now as part of the group buy as well. Mix of oil and grease, but they're still shit. I wouldn't mix oil and grease. I'd just do all the Remix blacks. Just need cleaning, wearing in, and lubing, and they should be all right. If you're ever in doubt, send them to either Chris or Max, and if they can't make a good switch out of it, it can't be a good switch. had to play with his dactyl. Yeah, his dactyl was pretty cool. No PCB in that though. Yeah, we all love you, Olivia. Yeah. USB 3, there won't be any power issues, but you probably have to use additional circuitry. Potentially, but then again, it was not going to fit in the 6% cases that are out there. But perhaps, you know, if there is a better case, you know, the design that comes along is popular and USB-C takes off in the thing, and you know, perhaps it will go that way. My view is that USB Mini is just good enough for the job. It does what we need it to do. It's got enough power. Its design is universal. You can have your custom cables built and you can use them any which way you need to. I don't think it's worthwhile moving to USB-C just yet. Let's wait until the big guys do it first, and then when it becomes popular and the standard, that's when you can start to make custom stuff for it. Replace them with Kale Pro Burgundy. Genuinely send them to Max or send them to Chris Swires and ask them to fix them for you, because both of those guys know their linear switches inside and out. And Max actually converted me to liking linears from only being a tactile guy. Not so long back actually, he did the switches for my polycarb Singer, which we did with Tangerines, the original version of the Tangerine switches, which ran in group buy a few months ago. And I absolutely love them. I absolutely love them. Okay, we're on to the last row now. So 10 or so switches left to do. Try and fly through these nice and quickly. I did test your PCB before we started the stream as well, Mel, and it was all working just then, so we shouldn't have any issues. Head into frame. That's probably the most boring part of the build stream for you guys, watching someone solder a board. Tangerines are currently in group buy. Yes, they are, but there was an original group buy a few months ago, which is where I got mine. I've got them in two boards, on my CA66 and my polycarbonate Singer. There is a group buy on that's now. I think it ships in October, but well worth getting. I've actually got a whole host of them in a box somewhere left over. Is the only board links to on Amazon a good major buy? Yeah, it's okay. It's not a bad one. I can't remember the brand of it, but I do remember looking at it when David was talking about recommended a 9 on there. It will do the job for an average Joe, someone who's new to soldering, all that kind of stuff. It's only if you get into doing a lot of custom work that you need a better soldering iron, in my opinion. So I'm sure that will be fine. If you want to pop the link up in the chat, I'll have a look at it for you here. Oh, the blue draper one, yes, it is, yes, I've seen it before, yeah, it is really nice as that. For the price, I don't think you can go wrong with it, to be honest. I think it's a reasonable iron for a reasonable price. Okay, just a couple more switches left to go now. Over the side of the hole. Okay, I'm done. Okay. If you're doing like you want something narrower, like just it's just nice. It's like holding a pen. It's just really nice to hold. It's delicate. It's easy to use. It's not big, thick, and chunky. It's just one of those things that's nice to use. It heats up really quickly. The problem with the draper soldering iron is it's going to take 3 or 4 minutes to get hot. This gets hot in, well, 15 seconds, less than that, 10 seconds. It's just a really nice, comfortable iron. So if you're doing quick work, you can put it down, it'll go cold in a few minutes. I can then pick it up and solder again if something's not working on the board really, really quickly and really, really easily. Just move that out of the way. H says hi. Hi H. Hi H. Good. Looking forward to seeing you at the meetup again. H is James's lovely other half, by the way. And the boy's doing very well for himself, I must say. Very, very well for himself. So yes, it'll be good to see H again at the meetup. Oh, I'm getting pinged all over the place at the moment. Okay. Nothing too important going on, sorry about this, guys. Yankar just posting his PCB pics in my Discord server. Okay, so that's the board all soldered. What we're going to do now before we put any keycaps on is test all of the switches, make sure it's all working. So for that I use a program called Switch Hitter, which I'm just going to load up now. Run in the background. And just grab the cable. And give this a try. So the Clueboard unusually has its USB on the right hand side. There we go, we can see it all working. So lots of underglow, probably going to blind you in a second by showing you this. There you go, you can see all of the LEDs are working nicely. That is all configurable, you can change the colours and the codes and everything else. So I'm just going to test all the keys, make sure they're all working. Escape 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, minus, plus and backspace are all working. Tab, Q, W, E, R, T, Y, Y isn't, I'll have a look at that. U, I, O, P, open bracket, close bracket and enter. Caps lock works just fine. A, S, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, colon, apostrophe, hash, shift working, backslash, Z, X, C, V, B, N, M, colon, dot, question mark, shift, control, Windows, Alt, space, Alt, control, and FN isn't showing, but I think if we do FN and P, yeah, that's registering. And we've got up, down, left and right, page up and page down. So everything's all working apart from the Y key. So we'll have a look at that now, see what the problem with that one is. It doesn't look to be a problem on the top. We'll try just reflowing the solder. So this is where we'll see that the solder has been cooling down now for a few minutes. And we'll see that if I plug it in and switch it on, and you can see that it's heating up really, really quickly there. Should go to about 330, 340, something like that. Okay, so there we go, it's back up to temperature, so it's as quickly as that. So we're going to have a look at the Y key. Now it could be a couple of things. It looks like there's a bit of cold solder on it, so what we're going to do is just melt and reflow the solder that's on there. But also what I'm going to do is just add some solder to both pins. I'll put the solder away. Sure, I put the solder away. Where did I put the solder? Oh, right away, it's here. This could be a number of things. It could be that the switch is dodgy. It could be that it's just not registering. It could be the fact that I've cold soldered it. It could be a few different things. So what we'll do first of all is try reflowing the solder. Try and flood a bit more in there in case it's a pin that's been bent slightly out of shape. There we go. Reflow both sides of the switch. Make sure we're pushing solder all the way in. Okay, there's a really big blob of solder on that now. Okay, and then we'll give that a try. Let's see how that works. Next project, before I gather everything I need for my next 6 keys, probably to convert my Model M. Yeah, that sounds good. keyboardtester.com. I use Switch Hitter, keyboard tester, Switch Hitter. They do the same thing. They're simple as that. Never had a cold drum, but they could because I soldered at a high temperature. It's just one of those things. Sometimes it happens. Y is now working, so that's all it was. Just needed a little bit of extra solder. This solder I've got, Martin, isn't the best. It's 60/40 solder. Now it tells me that it's supposed to melt at 238 degrees, but it doesn't. I think it needs at least 300, so it's not the best. But anyhow. So that's it. That's the board built. What we'll do now is I'll just put some keycaps on it. I think I've got some GMK keycaps somewhere lying around. Yep. So just pop these on for now, just because they're a quick set I've got to my hand, and then what we'll do is we'll give it a bit of a sound test. We'll compare it against the other Clueboard as well and see how it sounds, and obviously we'll put it in its case as well. So I'm just going to pop these keys on here now. Take a minute. QWERTYUIO. These are an old OG cherry set that I've had for a long time. Is that right? But they are ISO, which makes them perfect for this. And that feeling when you just realise that you've soldered a switch wrong. We've put Mel's shift in the wrong position, so we'll have to sort that out. But we do know it works, so it's nice and simple to do. Stepped caps as well. Always going to use stepped caps if you can, in my opinion. Mel prefers it as well. ASD, FGH. Just get a few caps on there. There's less need to start counting the keys to make sure we know where we are. That's not for this board. Take me another minute or two to get these on. Yes, I'm sure you did think it was like bags and bags of caps. Yeah, I've got quite a lot of sets of caps. It's just one of those things. Yes, James, if you want me to show the patterner, I can quite easily do that on your board. HJKL, yeah, on your, not your board, sorry, on your plate. I will remember the word. Let me just put these caps on, and before we do the sound test, we'll do that. Jay just wanted to show off his solder sucker. No, I probably won't do it on stream, to be honest, and it's not a great solder sucker, if I'm honest. It just does the job barely. This isn't going to cover the board fully, isn't this set? It's just going to give us roughly a nice set of keys. It's off an old 1800 board, I believe. Why is that not going on? See, this is where we need to come up with a better idea for using stabilizers. Okay, I think that key's got something in the stem. Yeah, there's something in the stem on that. We can't put that on. We'll just go with the majority of the alphas, and then we'll be able to do a good sound test. If someone had pointed out that I'd put that switch in the wrong position earlier on, I would have been very impressed. In fact, actually, do you know what? I think, yeah, it is in the wrong spot. It is in the wrong spot. I was right the first time. So we'll get the alphas on, and then we'll go from there. We'll do a bit of a sound test. We'll put the board in its case. Right, help if I've got the keys in the right place as well, so we can see what we're doing. Not that it really matters for a sound test, but we'll get the idea. Yeah, Parker, I've seen that you've got some of these sets for sale. Yeah, reasonable prices as well. You assume that you knew better than me. Don't ever assume that I know better than anyone. Just because I build boards a lot doesn't mean say I know everything. There's a lot that I need to know that I don't know. I'm not a font of all knowledge. I just like the damn things, and wish I had the ability to buy and spend more time with them. Going to finish with the alphas here, and a couple more left to go. I do love these old OG cherry caps. They are some of my favourites. They just look lovely. Sadly, this full set isn't compatible with the Clueboard though, and the main reason for that is because it's designed for a 1800 layout, so it doesn't have the right size shift and a few other bits and pieces. So, okay, we're almost there now. Just a couple of keys left. Just need that number 3. It should be in my pile somewhere. We're being an idiot not to be able to see it. There it is. Got to have the skip keycap, so we'll put that in. We should have a tab. Where's the tab? Do you know what? I don't think I have the tab. I do have a tab. Okay, so we'll go with that. That's a good one. 1800 win kilo sit. Yes, maybe I could probably do it. Just don't tab them. I think that was putting for a coffee on it. Yeah, these are relatively clean. They're just old, so that's why they look a little bit yellow. But they're actually really clean. I really like them. I got them off Meliewx not so long back. Ross is a great guy. Check out the stream. Ping me on Discord with anything you need. Thanks, Lee. No problem. You'll get to see the board tomorrow. I will ping you with instructions where you can pick the board up because I'm not going to be at home when you come for it. So I'll ping you that. I think these were about 30 quid, something like that. They weren't expensive. Right, let's pop it together and then we'll do a bit of a sound test. And you guys can see and tell me what you think to how it sounds. Yeah, Ross loves his OG stuffs. He's a good guy as well. So we'll just peel the covering off of this. In before this is actually how it looks, and it's all scratched. But I'm pretty sure it does have a covering on it. Yeah. Probably being a guy and not having any nails. Before when I said this was filthy, you can see it's actually really nice and shiny. I just didn't want to do that until after we'd built it. Try not to touch it too much. Okay, and then pop this together here. And we've got 2 hex bolts. Just screw in nicely to the bottom. Never try and over tighten this sort of stuff. Slower you slow. Oh no, the noise of peeling that plastic off on stream is not a good idea. The noise of it would drive people away from the stream, mate. So I'm not going to do it slowly. It is a mirror, yeah. It's designed to mirror and reflect the light from the underglow. So we're going to just plug this in. There you go, you can see that the underglow kind of comes through. It's fairly even all the way around. Clueboards being Clueboards, it's not amazing. Not sure why it's gone off at the front there. We'll have a look at that in a second. Just around the sides. There we go. Looks like one of the LEDs has gone off. It might be shorting out of the case. Oh no, it's on just behind there. Not sure why that's not showing through. We'll have a look at that later. Anyway, what we'll do now is we'll do a bit of a sound test. So we'll see what it sounds like. And my computer's just locked itself. Oh. on. There we go. Sorry about that. I don't think it's a game for screwing stabs. It could be. They shouldn't bottom out on the acrylic because it's acrylic, so it shouldn't. It's not touching metal, so it shouldn't be shorting out across there. We'll have a look at it in a second anyway. Anyway, we'll just carry on with the sound test. And we'll test that against mine, so you guys can get a feel for how they sound. This is 67 gram Meliewx. So it does sound a little bit more clickety. It's not quite as quiet as the Meliewx. These are lubed as well, so these are a little bit more silent, I think. It does sound really nice. It feels really solid, as you can see. It's a nice solid board. It's not going anywhere. It's screwed together really well. Why can't you have a board sound like that? It's just practice building them, getting them right, knowing how to get your switches sorted. Switches play the biggest part in sound. I think it's a really good board for the money. What I'm probably going to do now is just take it apart, have a look at why these LEDs aren't working just around the front here. I think they are. It looks like that they are from the inside of the case. You can see it shining through there. For some reason it's just not coming through to this this part of the diffuser. So I'll have a look at it. It could be some tape or something just on the inside. Or it could be the fact that the PCB is set a little bit lower, I'm not sure. But we'll have a look at that and we'll try and work it out. But yeah, that's the build. The only other thing I wanted to talk to you guys today about is I have got a little bit of a prototype of something here, which is from a friend on Reddit. So this is the postal board, and it's by Life on the Wire, which is a Reddit user, and he's been kind enough to send me a prototype of what he calls his postage board. So what this is effectively is it's a 3-switch PCB, but it's designed for hand wires. It's USB-C, and it's got all of the pins easily accessible for you to be able to. I'm not sure if that's going to focus. Is that going to focus? Oh, nearly. No, it's not going to focus. Let's move this out of the way. See if it'll focus now. There you go. So this is the prototype of the board. Effectively, it's a fully working PCB. It just needs to be 3 switches soldering onto it, and the rest of your array soldering on, hand wiring, and yeah, that's going to go in one of my builds I'm working on with Daniel actually. So Daniel, I've asked to see if I can get hold of one of these for you as well, dude. You'll have to pay for it, but hopefully it should be in the first run rather than you having to wait for the second or third run. And yeah, we'll see where we get to. But a little bit of kit. If anyone's looking to do a hand wire, check it out. Go buy one. Yes, Jan, I think I told you about this a couple of weeks ago. It is really nice. It's really well put together. It works really well. I've soldered a few bits to it and had a bit of practice with it. It looks really good. Yeah, I think they're about $20. I don't think they're expensive, which is cheaper than a PCB. You just need a bit of wire, and it's just a really good bit of kit. And if anyone wants to see what I'm building next on the stream after Daniel's canoe, I want to show you a little bit of a sneaky preview of the way. I'll just grab it. So this is, as you can see, prototype case 01 of an X75 from Zondat's Noxury boards, and this is what we're going to be building next on stream. So Daniel's canoe, sorry, not next actually, Daniel's canoe will be next, but this will be the very first build after that. So yeah, I just want you guys to see that. So the case is silver, it's a 1-of-1 build. I've got a custom copper plate coming for it as well, and I'm not sure on switches yet, possibly Revo Whites, maybe Utamu Sky, not sure yet, got a few different things. No, Olivia, your weight is packed, your box is actually at the side of me, just waiting for that key set to come through and I can just drop it off at the postal shop, and it's all ready to go, it's all labelled up and ready to go. It's not a chocky bar, but it is a hefty boy. I think that weight alone weighs something like 2.5 kilos or something. It's really heavy, but it's really chunky. I'll show you again. If you look how thick that is, I mean, it's just really, it's probably thicker than the Clueboard, and that's just the weight. Let's just have a look. You know, it's pretty much the same thickness as the board itself, so it's pretty good. Yeah, that's what we're going to build next from my collection of boards in the next week. hopefully I'll get to do it before the meetup, but I am waiting on my plate coming from Laser Boost. And James, I don't know if you're still there, I hope you are, but let's have a look at your plate as well. So for those of you that don't know, James is in the process of rebuilding his UK78 and he's wanting to use high-row switches. And whilst he's using his high-row switches, he thought he'd have another plate made. So I did show this on the last stream, but effectively this is his new copper plate, which is absolutely stunning. We're trying to get a little bit of patina on there, and as you can see, it is going quite well. It's starting to gain quite a lot of patina, looking aged, looking a bit different in the light there. The bottom side's got a few fingerprints on, bits of oils and stuff, and it's going slowly. Bottom side probably doesn't matter too much, but the top side's going really, really well. So yeah, full copper, 2mm, really, really strong. And I've copied this for my X75 as well. And that's pretty much it for the build stream, to be honest with you. As I said, I need to just quickly desolder that one switch for Mel, check what's happening with these LEDs. I don't think it's a big issue, and then take my caps off, and then box it all up for him. So I'm going to close the stream down there, but thank you very much all for watching. I hope you'll tune in again next time. If you've got any questions, feel free to ping me on Discord or on Reddit, u/Nodgers on Reddit. And yeah, I'd love to talk to you all, guys. And hopefully I'll see a lot of you at the meetup in the next couple of weeks. But thanks again very much for watching, and I'll see you again sometime soon. Cheers, folks. Bye-bye.